Alright guys, this is what I'm using to put this tile up on the ceiling with. You're going to do your ceiling first, and that way the rest of the tile on your walls will hold it up. I've already made lines up here where I want stuff to go on the outside, so I'm just going to push it to the outside, leave this edge floating a little bit because I'm going to have more tile going near it. And this should stick by itself, guys. It's pretty good stuff. The yellow that's going to drop hit me on the head. Just goop it up. Bunch of mud right up on the ceiling. So make sure it all gets pushed in about the same. I've got a pencil line going down the center so it gives me my guide. Just got to keep everything straight and lined up is all. And this I'll make sure that my tile is set and flush and correct. I'm no expert, guys. These are the first 3 pieces of tile I've ever stuck on a ceiling. This is my first ceiling ever. I have never done a ceiling, so if this stuff hits me on the head, y'all don't laugh. It's my first attempt. This saw's been sitting outside in the rain for 2 years, and it still works. When you're cutting these, you can go fast as long as your blade will handle it, but slow down as your cut's coming through the tile because you don't want to take a chunk or a chip out of it. Get a good tile saw and you can cut a little sliver on tile. Look at how thin that is. Alright folks, thing you see up here at the top, I like to know what my tile is going to do from the top down. This is going to be my hardest section to do my tile on. It's going to match the ceiling, so I've worked for my measurements from the top down, so that tile is not going to be too bad to cut. Then you can see my lines right here for border. So my remainder down, it's not a normal way to do it. This is where my big squares of tile are going to go. And you can see this line at the bottom. Now I run that line level because that's going to be my first layer of tile down there on top of the tub. And I want to make sure it goes level coming up to meet everything. So my tub actually drops a hair on the right hand side, which it shouldn't, but it does. So I'll have to shim that side of my tile up just a little bit to make everything right. You can also see I put a little bit of tape down there to help keep the tub a little bit clean, which I'll peel that off after. I'm not an experienced tile player, guys, so I do things as easy as I can. I've got a brick trowel and then I spread it around good and thick so you don't have none of that hollow sound to your tile. First piece is most crucial, folks. That's what's got to be exactly right. I think that's pretty good. I'll put my second piece up on this side. Spacer in here, spacer up top. Make sure they're even, guys. I'm a slow tile layer, I know. I'll make sure it's right. Because of the pitch of my tub, I'm just going to wedge it double with cardboard, and I think that'll suffice on one corner. Once you get your first run set, the rest goes easier. I promise you that. Alright, so you see how it's done. Just keep at it like that till you get to your cut pieces. 12 pieces up. I'm going to measure my border, make sure everything's right. I have 4 7/8. 4 7/8 on the money. And as long as you get your first set correct, the rest will fall in perfect. Alright, we got almost 3 inches here. So when you take your measurement, you want to make sure you take off your 1/4 inch. And my tile's going to overlap back here in the corner, so I'll cut this one at 2 11/16. Now it only takes a second. Save yourself some trouble later on. When your mud gets filled up in a crack, come in here with one of your spacers and just swipe the majority of that mud out. And that way when you're doing your grout, you don't have to scrape it all out of there before you grout. When you go to buying your fancy doodads, your border and whatnot, even the factory pieces have bad spots on them. You see the gap's not quite right here, and it doesn't line up. So you have to pull some pieces loose and put them back in and mud them by themselves. Cut that weave out of your triangle and then cut your piece right loose. Then you line it up properly when you put it together. I don't know if you can see it very well, but I got my hole marked out for my spigot to go through, and I've got to cut that out with a hand grinder. It's not the neatest hole, but as long as your escutcheon's covered and all, you're fine. Now my outside pieces of it, guys, I've beveled this edge here because it's going to come to the outside and I'm going to cap the wall edge. Once again, I'm cutting an angle into this edge for where it's going to meet out here with the tile coming across.